Angel investing, it's very, very early stage investing, usually in startup companies, certainly before, and you may have heard of venture capitals. We're before venture capitalists. We usually invest in fairly risky seed stage or all the way to Series A investments. And again, these are very risky startup companies. And the whole definition of angels and angel groups it's regulated by the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. And just so you understand that the basic definition of an angel is it's the accredited investor definition, which is someone who's made over 200,000 a year for the past 2 years, sorry, or as a couple, $300,000 a year, or with $1 million or more in net income, net worth, I'm sorry, not including their primary residence. Now, there are other ways you can be an angel investor, but those are the primary two ways to do it. And for years, UVA, we didn't have any way to do this, and yet we have a burgeoning ecosystem full of entrepreneurs with great ideas, and also some really smart investors and folks in the alumni community. So several years ago, we got together to start Cav Angels. Okay, so it's a very risky business. So how do you mitigate some of that risk? Well, yeah, join an angel group, because with an angel group, you can benefit by sharing intelligence, sharing due diligence, sharing information, and also, especially with groups like Cav Angels, we have a very good pipeline, very good deal flow. So you see more deals and higher quality deals that are vetted. And probably the most important thing is that by joining an angel group, you see these deals and you can build a portfolio that mitigates some of the risks, maybe a portfolio of 10 or more companies. So any one company that may go under, and when you look at startups, historically, close to 50% or more will go out of business in the first few years. Now, we haven't had that experience here at Cav Angels because we're very careful in what we invest in. So let's go on to the next slide and we talk a little bit more. Now, one of the big parts of our mission, and we are a 501c3, one of our biggest missions is education, and it's tied in here to our mission statement: to catalyze UVA alumni's engagement in the burgeoning entrepreneurial ecosystem and to mobilize the highest levels of investment in the most promising early stage companies through tailored educational program. There's the education, hands-on student engagement, and we have many students involved, and curated access to robust and proprietary deal flow. And we have great deal flow, great pipeline, and Rich will talk about in a little bit. Now, if we can move on to the next slide. There you go. Just to tell you how well we're doing. When COVID hit a couple of years ago, many of us thought, well, hey, this is the end of the world. The stock market crash and everything came to an end. And especially Rich and I and Dick Crawford, we were very concerned about what was going to happen to the ecosystem in particular and entrepreneurship in general. Well, it turned out, after the initial shock and the adjustments that everybody made, well, turns out that it was actually a positive time, despite the tragedies involved, for angel investment. Cav Angels is totally online, which means you don't have to be in any particular place. We don't have dinner or breakfast meetings unless we want to. We have weekly meetings on Tuesdays that go over our pipelines. And we have presentations by great companies like the three you're going to see today, all online, and many of them are recorded, and there's chances for Q&A and things like that. And just to show you how exciting the past couple of years are, here are our membership stats for the past 2 years. We have grown a lot. You can see 3x to 124. That's the number of that's the amount of student growth we've seen for the past 2 years. It's grown 210%. We have educational members that are no longer students, but are looking for maybe education or learning how to apply the tools they've learned out in the real world to investing in startups. And altogether, we now have 277 members, about 116 are full investing members, but that represents about a 2 times 100% growth just in the past year or so. And associated that, we've had great growth in the amount of companies we've invested in and the amount of money we've invested. And for that, I'm going to turn this over to Rich, who will talk to you more about that and introduce the companies too.
Great. Next slide, please, Eric. So mirroring the impressive growth in membership, we've experienced some hockey stick type growth in deals and fundings that we like to, same type of hockey stick we usually see when we look at the companies and they show the impressive growth they're expecting or forecasting. In 2017 to 2019, a 3-year period, we did $1.6 million worth of deals, probably somewhere, there were 7 or 8 of them in total, 2 of which you're going to hear from today. So we started off well, we think. But we then in 2020, with a COVID tailwind, had $3.3 million that we invested, so 100% growth. And then in 2021, we came close to $7 million in funding. So over the last 2 years, we've invested over $10 million, or 80% of the total invested thus far, into the UVA entrepreneurial ecosystem. We did have 2 deals we were trying to get in last year. One lagged over into January. That was $1 million follow-on deal that we did. And we still have 1 deal that we're waiting for other investors to come in. It's our first lead deal that we hope to close before the end of February. That'll be for $600K of our money into that deal. So then last year we did 19 deals that were funded. 10 of them were new, 7 of them were follow-on. Oftentimes you invest early and then they come back, they'll need more money as they grow. And then we had 2 deals that crossed over at the end of the year. So 19 in total. We had a whole bunch of firsts last year. It was the largest deal we ever did was last year, $1.2 million in a company called Team Go. They since renamed themselves to Go Disco, in which case most people here are going to think of John Travolta, but apparently West Coast lingo for disco is discovery. It's kind of a neat deal. It's a social media app designed to get people out of their seats and liking and swiping and going out and getting together. Something that literally has just been launched in LA in the last 6 weeks. We had a first time deal for a term sheet where we led the deal. It's hard for us to do that because we don't know how much money we have until our members see the deal and say, we want to put this much in this deal, or we don't want to put any money in the deal. But we did have a deal that we were very close to from the beginning, a company called Carios Technologies. It's where the former CTO of a Charlottesville-based tech company called Contraline became the CEO, and he has a hydrogel that he is using to prevent what's called adhesions. And the way I think of adhesions, it's kind of premature healing of a surgical procedure. So in this case, we are the term sheet we're leading, and we've actually talked with a handful of other angel groups that we suspect will come with us. He's looking to raise $2 million. We expect to close for $1 million plus before the end of this month. We also had the largest follow-on. It happens to be Interior Solutions, where over a series of rounds, we had about $700,000 into the deal. And then last year into a convertible note, we put another $700,000. Cumulatively, 1.4 million, that's our biggest deal to date. And I'm not going to say anything more about Interior Solutions because you're going to hear from that. Hear about that with Anil shortly. And then the last thing I would say is we had our first foreign investment. We had an Israeli spinal tool company that we invested in. The company was pivoting into robotics, and we put money into that. How do we ever find a company like that? Well, we actually have a Cav Angel member who used to work for a public spinal tool company. He came back east, I think to hopefully get his kids into UVA, and he had connections with this company, had actually looked at it when he was at the public company, and they recruited him to be on the board. So Cav Angels, because of the UVA connections, got insight into that deal. In terms of other facts about the deals, and a lot of people are sensitive to this, we track it. We're very proud of our record. 30% of our companies are female founded, so that's 9 out of the 30. 13%, 4 out of 30, have minority founders. 20%, well, I guess I'm going to give you a stat. I'll say 20% are ESG related in a way, so that's environmental, social, or governance. But I would combine the prior two stats and say 50% of our deals have some element of either diversity, equity, inclusion, or ESG in them, which I think is pretty impressive. And then lastly, 40% of our deals are follow-on fundings. So of the deals we invested in for the first time, 40% of them have come back for more money with a higher valuation. And many times we will invest as much, if not more, when that's the case. The company has some traction. The last thing I will mention is about tax credits. If I'm guessing the preponderant, well, we'll have a disproportionate amount of people who are from Virginia on the call today. And in a number of cases, actually 5 cases, our investments in Virginia-based companies can be subsidized by the state. So there's actually opportunities to get what's called the angel tax credit or other types of credits which offset taxes, even rebates that you can get from the Virginia IRS to basically pay you back for investing in Virginia companies. We also, for the first time, had a similar situation in a company we invested in Ohio, where we actually were able, or in the process of getting money back. It's a female-founded company, so we can get 30% of our money in a credit for Indiana taxes. Now, we don't have many people with Indiana income, but we are able to sell those credits to people that do have income, take a small haircut. So we actually get returns on some of these deals before, shortly after the deal is closed. With that, I'm going to stop and we will hand off to the companies that will be talking and pitching to you today. And the first one up will be Greg Werkheiser and ArtGlass. And I know Greg has one of his staff members with him, and I'm sure he'll introduce Lexi. So.
Hi, everyone. Greg Werkheiser, co-founder and CEO of ArtGlass. Indeed, my colleague Lexi Cleveland is here with me, and you might hear me mention her name a couple times throughout this presentation. I want to thank Cav from the start for not just this opportunity, but for being central supporters and investors in our company from the very early years. I am a graduate of the University of Virginia School of Law circa 22 years ago, class of 2000, and had a number of careers, but have largely been practicing law and developing businesses in those 22 years. And I'm very pleased to have an opportunity to share a little bit with you today about ArtGlass.
Around the world, millions of visitors to museums, historic sites, and attractions have been wowed by ArtGlass's dynamic, augmented reality experiences. As the leader in wearable AR for cultural sites and entertainment spaces, ArtGlass's technology guides visitors on interactive journeys through immersive storytelling. It creates dynamic, educational tours for cultural sites, as well as captivating experiences for other entertainment venues. Designed by cultural heritage experts and leading technologists, our software helps you create visually stunning and engaging programming that enhances your exhibits and events. Our newest product, Tour Builder, is a do-it-yourself augmented reality software studio. It's designed to enable our clients to create structurally complex and narratively rich AR tours and experiences. No coding or outside expertise is needed. As an all-in-one studio, Tour Builder allows clients to create scripts, animate scenes, and publish content, all without leaving the platform. Our built-in wizards and tutorials help clients create powerful experiences quickly, affordably, and collaboratively. Our clients choose ArtGlass to attract more visitors and diverse audiences, and to generate revenues through unique, unforgettable experiences. Let ArtGlass augment your next guest adventure.
We are an augmented reality company, which means you can be out in the world and you can layer over your real world experience. The sky's the limit in terms of digital enhancements. The technology is not intended to replace museum exhibits. It's intended to supplement them in a way that's not distracting, that is enhancing. I want to distinguish this from virtual reality in the sense that virtual reality will also be playing a huge and transformative role in how human beings interact with art and culture and landscapes. But that is a closed environment on goggles that really constrain you to be sitting on your couch. Now you can bring immersive experiences from around the world to it, but and some of the content that we develop for our platform is useful in virtual reality. But I just want to be clear up front that we're an augmented reality company by choice, because we see that as the most fruitful market for us in the cultural heritage space. You can flip to the next slide, please. Thank you. So, what are the 5 factors that have made us successful so far? The first is our team. We are not just a tech company. We have as many cultural heritage experts on our team as we do technologists. And that means that when we walk in the door to the Smithsonian or Pompeii, we're not just pitching them a technology that we're going to hand off and walk away. We're helping them tell their stories in ways that are meaningful, because our folks are experts in art history or particular periods in American history. And so that storytelling piece and that expertise gives us an edge. I'll just use Lexi as an example. Lexi is a undergrad graduate from the College of William & Mary. She then got her master's degree overseas at Leiden in early American history, and has grown up in Virginia. So when Lexi goes up to Mount Vernon, for instance, and to help them tell the story about not just George Washington, but the enslaved community that lived up there, we have an ability to help tell that story in a way that is more meaningful and credible. There is a $21 billion ticketing opportunity for AR tourism. That is the annual spend just domestically of what people spend when they go to museums and cultural sites. That is roughly 2.5 times all the money that is spent on all professional sporting events in the United States during the same period, and all the money that's spent at places like Disney. Add up all of your theme parks, add up all of your professional sporting events, it's still smaller than the cultural market, which surprises a lot of people. And I think, frankly, has given us an advantage, because while everyone else has been running around trying to serve AR in the NFL, we have largely been able to dominate the cultural heritage vertical, and that has given us traction. We have deployed at closing in on 70 sites and clients around the world, including at ancient Pompeii, at Mount Vernon, at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. And we're closing in on 4 million visitors who have paid for the experience to go pick up a pair of our augmented reality glasses. We do the software. We rely on third parties for the hardware. And just like you would for the past 30 years, rent an audio guide and go for an hour around, now you can rent these glasses, go for an hour around, and have a really transformative experience. The tech is almost completely proprietary. We use 1 or 2 plugins, but largely it's our own invention. We have 2 patents issued and 2 patents pending. And currently we are raising a pre-A convertible note with a $7 million cap and a 20% discount. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about the hunger among historic sites, museums, and the like, and attractions for technology. People are bored with COVID. They want to go back to cultural institutions. They do not want to go back to the same cultural institutions. They want something that's immersive and different, and that draws them back. And so 80% of sites, according to numerous surveys at this point, are looking to to introduce more immersive technologies, and 34% of them are wanting to do an augmented reality experience in the near term. We have virtually no competition in terms of being able to serve that market. And I can explain a little bit later why we don't currently have any competition. The short version is, it is hard to make this technology work. And you can, Lexi and I, you can see all the scars from us trying to make these, $1,500 pair of glasses work in 110-degree Virginia heat outside, which, no one's ever done before. But because we have worked through those, we have a strategic advantage and probably a 2, maybe a 3-year head start in front of our competition. Why do museums want it? They want to attract more visitors. They want to attract more diverse audiences, and they want returning visitors. Next slide, please. Rich, I'm going to count on you, because my mouth is moving so quickly, to do the thumbs up or a thumbs down when I'm within like a minute, and then I'll be sure to wrap it up as if I had planned that. How's that sound? Great. So the software is dynamic. We have learned a lot from being in the field about what works and what doesn't. We have a roughly 95 to 96% extreme satisfaction rate. So customers go through and they say yes. 96% of them think this is a significant enhancement to the museum experience. Again, code-free, which is critical to us to be able to scale at this point. And we're hardware agnostic. We frequently partner with Epson, which is a Seiko Epson, a huge and 100-year-old Japanese company that's a multi-billion-dollar company. We are their largest customer for hardware within this market. And as a consequence, they've been a good partner, but we're not exclusive with them as new hardware comes on the market. Next slide, please. I think I've covered this, but just to give you an idea, we're not confined to box museums. We can do indoors, we can do outdoors. We can do walking tours that are chronological. We can do walking tours where it's kind of a choose your own adventure. We can gamify the experience for kids. And while we are best known for pushing the envelope with augmented reality glasses that give you an immersive 3D experience, we can also do the easier versions of that, which are on tablet and iPhone. Where we're going is that we have done 2 things during the pandemic. We've pivoted from a model where we were largely just selling to major sites one-on-one. So we'd go to Mount Vernon, sell to Mount Vernon. To now we're partnering and signing deals with multinational corporations that run not just sometimes dozens of sites, but hundreds of sites. So for instance, we've got several deployments with London-based Merlin Entertainments. They run 10 Madame Tussauds, they run 48 sea life aquariums, and it's possible now for us to more easily scale to serve millions of folks through those partnerships. The second thing we did was, at the beginning of our company, it really needed to be us internally that used the software to produce these experiences. We took the time during the pandemic to create a SaaS model so that clients can now purchase just access to our software and design their own experiences. Next slide. Just a little picture of the types of places that this can be deployed. Again, beyond box museums, escape rooms, if you've sent your kids or grandkids to those, hotels, leisure that want to offer interesting experience to their visitors, warehouse tours, college tours, campus tours. So we get a lot more requests than we're able to satisfy at this point. We get calls from the military, we get calls. We've tried to be disciplined and stay within our vertical, own this vertical, prove that we can have tangible, real customers within this vertical, which is distinctive from a lot of companies that are in the AR space. Next slide. So we've raised 350 of the initial 500K that we wanted for this little series post-COVID sprint. We are willing, if our current investors tolerate it, to oversubscribe this round. And I would be pleased to have a conversation with you if you leave this pitch feeling particularly interested at how we could work together. Yep, Rich just gave me the thumbs up. Final slide is how we would use it. Some of the companies are raising multiple millions of dollars. We've tried to be conservative and not over raise. And we've raised about 2.5 million. And then my wife and I are co-owners of the company with some others, have put in a fair amount of our own cash. And we didn't want to raise before we knew what we were scaling. We're now at the point where I think we know what we're scaling, we're ready to go. And the use of the 500 or whatever we close this round at is really going to be to start jacking up our sales of the SaaS model of the hardware. So we just finished it a week or two ago, and now we need a couple of salespeople to be out there having the conversations and selling the software, which is our second full revenue stream. And I'm happy to end there.
My name is Anil Asrani. I'm the CEO of Tier Solutions. But before I jump in, let me first thank Cav Angels, not only for the opportunity to be here in front of you today, but also for the continued support that Rich had described. We're honored. I did not know that data, so we're honored to be one of 2021's firsts for Cav Angels. And Rich and Jim, congratulations on your continued success. No surprise there as it relates to you guys doing great things. So, Tier Solutions is a clinical stage biotech. We have impressive first-in-human clinical data, which I'll share a little bit about today. We've got robust IP, and now we've got a clearly defined clinical and regulatory path with formal written FDA alignment to support an unrestricted general dry eye indication for our lead product called Lacropep. So if you're not familiar, this is essentially the same path that a dry eye drug called Xiidra went down, and they were sold to Novartis for $5.3 billion. The reason, for these valuations is because dry eye is essentially the hypertension of ophthalmology. It's cited as one of the top reasons people go to an eye care professional, and the solutions that are out there today are really not that great. And you'll get a sense for that as we get through a couple of slides here. So we definitely have the right team with the right set of experiences to succeed. For example, we have some of the same people who brought the most trusted laser in LASIK to market. And obviously we're now charting a path to deliver Lacropep, which in our mind is a truly disruptive dry eye therapeutic to the market. So I'm just going to highlight one individual here, Gordon Laurie. He is the one that discovered a human protein called lacretin, which Lacropep is derived from. So our founder and chief scientific officer, Gordon Laurie, is a professor at the University of Virginia. He named that protein and then built an international group of collaborators around it who have published quite extensively on its role in restoring ocular health. The way that he discovered this molecule was he did an unbiased screen of the tear proteome. The goal of that screen was to find out what's missing in dry eye tears as compared to healthy normal tears. And you'll understand why tears are so important as we get through this presentation. But the answer is lacretin. It's deficient in all forms of dry eye. And that's not just us and our research saying that. It's been independently confirmed in the DEWS-II report, which is really the seminal publication in this space. And obviously, it has replacement therapy potential, which is what gave rise to Lacropep. So Lacropep is essentially here on the right, and Lacretin is here on the left. And essentially, Lacropep preserves all of the bioactivity of Lacretin in a short peptide. And the way it does that is it captures Lacretin's active binding domain, which I'm circling here, and thus captures all of its cellular signaling activity. So what does that cellular signaling do? It does a variety of things, but given the length of the presentation that we have here today, in short, it enhances all three layers of the tear film, and it keeps that tear film optimal. And the reason it's so important to keep your tear film optimal is because the cells of your cornea have no blood flow. There's no capillaries that go to your cornea. And so how do those cells survive? It's literally the tear film that is essentially their blood. It provides everything that those cells need to survive and thrive. And what I'm sharing with you here is a picture from preclinical work, which I think is probably the best illustration of the kind of the disruptive power, speed, and promise of Lacropep. You're essentially going from a disease state, which is evidenced by the staining that these cells are picking up, to a completely healthy corneal surface in just 3 weeks with our product. Again, this is a preclinical mouse model, but we saw that same kind of efficacy in our first in human. And the dry eye market is definitely worth disrupting. It's the nice thing is it's susceptible to disruption because they've got inferior products out there. I'll tell you a little bit about them today. But what this market really needs is something that acts fast, provides relief for a majority of people, not a minority of people. And really, you know, the people who are suffering from this disease need that, and they need something that's comfortable to use. And you'll understand the context as we get through this next slide. Busy slide, I know, but let me just take a minute to walk you through it. Essentially, you know, our first in human study has us convinced that Lacropep is that product that can provide that speed and that relief. What I'm sharing with you here is how Lacropep on the left racks and stacks against the approved dry eye drugs in the United States. To get right to it, all of these drugs work by immunocompromising the eye. So they mess with the immune system. Obviously, that can leave it susceptible to other infections. But worse yet, they take way too long to provide relief. We're talking about months. And they also sting in upwards of 20% of people who are using this. Xiidra has another one. That's the one that sold to Novartis against it, which is called Dysgeusia. You put the drop in your eye and you get a foul metallic taste in your mouth that lasts for hours. So another problem with these is that they're not actually effective on a majority of the patients, or their effect is so low that they're not getting approved outside the United States. Lacropep, on the other hand, provides rapid relief within 2 weeks. We did not study 1 week in our last trial. We will study it in our next. It's providing that relief for a majority of patients, and it has a best-in-class safety and comfort profile. We had a very severe form of dry eye in this patient population. It's primary Sjogren's. That's a patient population that would normally be excluded from dry eye trials because they're so hard to treat. We're showing that we're 3 times better than Xiidra at improving corneal health. And again, Xiidra was the one that sold to Novartis for $5+ billion. So we're feeling very bullish about our first in human experience. As for next steps, we're currently raising $25 million to get back into the clinic. That's to conduct 1 of 2 phase 3 trials that are required for NDA submission, new drug application for FDA decision, whether it's approval or denial. You know, we're obviously engaged in right now and will continue to pursue negotiations with major multinational strategics to explore strategic options for the company, provided they make sense. And I'll give you a little bit more color on the next slide. So in terms of where we've been, you can see that we've raised about $20 million in the past, and we've benefited through Gordon's research from non-dilutive NIH funding to advance our science to the tune of $13 million, $8 million historically, $5 million over the next 5 years. We're looking to raise another $25 million. Given that our post-money valuation on our last round was about $50 million, and that we now have a path to a general dry eye indication, we're confident that we're going to be able to deliver a nice multiple for our investors. So our clinical and capital strategies are sound, you know, making Tier Solutions a very attractive investment at this time. Just a quick update, because I know that you'll probably have questions around this on our raise. We currently have about, of the 25, we have about $5 million in a bridge, which Rich and Cav Angels participated in. Our current investors will do another $10 million. So we're really looking for a new lead investor for the remaining $10 million. We do have strategics who are interested in doing that with us, but we'd prefer not to have to give away a strategic right in the company if we can avoid it at this time. Other questions we get on this slide are, you know, who are your investors? Our 2 largest investors are a Russian pharmaceutical called Farm Standard. They do deals with blue chip VCs in the US and Europe. And then Santen is our second largest. They're the largest Japanese ophthalmic pharmaceutical. Neither of them, though, have any strategic rights, and only Farm Standard has 1 of 6 voting board seats from a governance perspective. Below that, Virginia Tech Carillion Innovation Fund is an investor, UVA Seed Fund, Cav Angels, obviously, and other angels and high net worth individuals. So a pretty simple cap table. So in summary, you know, we've got a lot to be excited about here at Tier Solutions. We're convinced Lacropep represents a disruptive therapeutic in a market that's ripe for disruption. And from conversations, we've had with leading experts in the field, the likes of, if these names mean anything to you, Dick Lindstrom and Bill Link, we're not alone in this excitement, and we're looking forward to getting LacquerPet back into the clinic this summer. Thank you for your time. Definitely look forward to Q&A either now or in the breakout.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Scobo. I am one of the 3 co-founders of Dive Technologies. Very excited to tell our story today and kind of give an overview and history of the company. I will say we are now officially Anduril Industries Maritime Division, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But like the previous 2 companies that went first, I just want to express my gratitude to Rich and Jim and the Cav Angels team. They were obviously a big part of our success. They sat on our cap table as a major investor, and I'll kind of point out as I go through the slide deck here, where they came in and had impact on our success. So just a short background on myself. I previously worked in the subsea technology and defense industry prior to founding Dive Technologies, and I am a 2010 Darden alum. We founded the company in 2018. The goal was to develop a very large, long-range, low-cost autonomous underwater vehicle. Think of that as a drone for the ocean, to kind of put it in context for everyone. And I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights on the company. So we ended up raising a total of $9.4 million, built out a pretty robust order book of $36 million, which it spans several years of business. We were able to file 9 patents, and our team is currently 30 employees. Our markets primarily are focused around national security, defense, and intelligence community type customers. And on the commercial side, energy markets. So think of offshore oil and gas, and more recently, a very large market opportunity that is emerging is offshore wind, particularly along the East Coast of the United States. Okay, so what did we develop? Our product is called the Dive LD. LD stands for large displacement. That's a US Navy term for something that's very big. As you can see in the picture here, it's approaching the dimensions of a mini submarine or a swimmer delivery vehicle that special forces use. It was meant to operate deep, 6,000 meters with very long endurance, 900 kilometers, which means it can stay out to sea for up to 10 days, and be a very flexible platform that could be brought to market at low cost. The platform is very dual use. So what you see here is our commercial seafloor survey vehicle. It often can be directly applied to our U.S. defense customer type missions. And the reason these systems exist is to image and inspect the seafloor. This is really important for U.S. government customers. You can kind of imagine, where that would be useful to that customer set. And then anybody who needs to build an infrastructure project on the ocean floor, there's a very extensive amount of seafloor survey work that has to happen to gain regulatory approval of those projects. The picture on the right just kind of shows the type of data that we can collect and quality of data. That's actually a rock formation in Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts. It's not particularly interesting other than you can kind of see the level of resolution and detail that we can get. And this was not taken with a camera. It's actually taken with an imaging sonar. So it's kind of an interesting sensor kit that we carry on this vehicle.
I thank everyone for taking the time to be here. Cav Angels, Art Glass, Tier Solutions, and Dive Technologies. Really appreciate just learning more about each organization. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.